AM, FM, cassette. Platinum is the power to get.
One of the largest selections, 32 different categories.
Today we're going back to the 1980s for an incredibly fantastic adventure to have a look at 20 items that were as necessary as neon leg warmers 20 years ago, but are as out of style as the mullet today.
Just slip into the featherweight headphones, pop in your favorite cassette, and you'll not only hear the music, you'll feel it all over.
Portable cassette player. To begin, we'll discuss the legendary Walkman, also referred to as the portable cassette player. The way we listen to music was completely changed when Sony released this amazing handheld device back in 1979. We were able to listen to our music during lengthy bus rides and park jogs alike. In addition to being a gadget, the Walkman sparked a cultural movement. You might remember making mixtapes for your crush. That would be the height of 1980s romance. We will never forget the pleasant click that occurs when a cassette is inserted, or the sensation of those orange foam earbuds. Our beloved Walkman, however, became a thing of the past as CDs and then digital formats took over. Thousands of songs are always with us now, but some could say we lost a little bit of that. Let's get serious about boomboxes and portable music while we're at it.
You know, there are still a few people around who think that waterbeds won't cut it. Well, Waterbed Creations, we can cut it.
Waterbeds. These liquid-filled mattresses were all the rage in the 80s, promising a unique sleeping experience. At their peak, waterbeds accounted for about 20% of the mattress market in the United States. They were seen as the epitome of modern cool bedroom decor, especially popular amongst bachelors. Waterbeds offered customizable firmness and even heating options for those cold nights. Some people swore by them for back pain relief. However, they came with their own share of problems. They were heavy and difficult to move and always carried the risk of springing a leak. Installation and maintenance were complicated, which often required specialized service. As more advanced mattress technology emerged, offering comfort without the hassle, waterbeds fell out of favor. And now, while you can still find them, they're more of a novelty than a common bedroom fixture. We may have more comfortable and practical sleeping options now, but they remain a unique symbol of 1980s home decor.
Old phone books, delicious. Here's to you, Mrs. Jones, and all the Joneses.
Phone books. Now let's flip through the pages of history to talk about phone books. These large books were formerly the equivalent of Google. Ever heard of one of those large and unwieldy yellow and white pages that would appear at your door? With residential numbers from the white pages and company listings from the yellow pages, they were the perfect contact list. Need to call a friend or family member? Just open up the white pages. Searching for nearby pizza, the yellow pages became your friend. Because all of these books were so widely available, the expression "let your fingers do the walking" gained popularity. Phone books were a common sight in every home, constantly available for use by the phone. However, these massive books became outdated as the internet and smartphones took control. Now, you can find any contact info with a few taps on your phone, no pages to flip required.
That's all you're taking to class?
Everything I need's in my new Trapper portfolio.
Trapper?
Traps in all my papers.
Trapper Keepers. Who could forget the Trapper Keeper when talking about the old days of school? Throughout American schools, these organizing tools were the ultimate status symbol. They were the Swiss Army knife of school supplies, with their bright patterns, Velcro closures, and capacity to contain many folders called trappers. Children could show off their individuality with Trapper Keepers, which came in a range of eye-catching patterns, from adorable animals to fascinating vehicles. They were a means to maintain style and organization throughout your whole school experience, not only folders. But as the use of laptops in the classroom increased and schools began to depend more on digital resources, the need for Trapper Keepers decreased. Even if comparable items are still available today, their cultural relevance has greatly diminished.
Singer brings you the new Singer VHS recorder. Our latest electronic refinements. Features operational simplicity.
VHS and VCRs. For home entertainment in the 1980s, VHS tapes and VCRs reigned supreme. video cassette recorders allowed us to record our favorite shows and view movies at home. When you entered a video rental store, it was exciting to scour the selection of movies on display and choose the ideal one to watch over the weekend. The notorious Be Kind Rewind stickers are also hard to forget. Beyond movies, VHS tapes have other uses. A lot of people tape those must-see TV shows or treasured family experiences, and the pleasurable click of a tape being inserted, the whirring sound as it played, and yes, even the frustration of removing tape from a VCR was part of the experience. But our cherished VHS cassettes and VCRs were finally consigned to the dusty recesses of our attics as DVD players, Blu-ray, and streaming services hit the picture in the late 90s. These days we stream movies with a click of a button, but some might say we've lost that tangible joy of physically holding the entertainment. Speaking of VHS tapes, let's go down memory lane to the video rental store.
You'll find over 10,000 videos, including a huge selection of current releases.
Video rentals. These were the Netflix of their day, requiring a great deal of legwork. Getting a personal membership card was an obligatory milestone, and when all of the new releases copies were gone and you had to settle with your second or even third option, the fight was genuine. Not to mention the stress of remembering to rewind the tape to prevent annoying fines. In addition to being a place to rent films, video rental establishments served as a gathering place for people, a weekend tradition, and a wealth of entertainment options. These establishments became obsolete with the rise of online streaming, taking with them the unique experience of physically browsing for your weekend entertainment.
Jenny, hold up. Look, I brought a disc and we could copy this, okay? And we can play it on my brother's computer.
Floppy disk. Now let's take a trip down memory lane with the floppy disk. These little square bits of plastic used to be the main way that data was transferred and stored. A hefty 1.44 megabytes of data could fit on the most popular 3.5-inch floppy. Yes, megabytes and not gigs. Floppy disks were necessary for storing programs, images, and papers. Early computers relied heavily on the floppy to bridge the gap to more advanced storage technology. They even continue to exist in apps as the save icon. However, when file sizes increased and more effective storage techniques like CDs appeared, the floppy disk was rendered obsolete. Although we do currently save data in the cloud, there was something concrete and fulfilling about having your own work in your hands.
I'll bet you thought pages were only for business people, right? Well, not anymore. It seems like everyone is carrying them.
Pagers. Pagers were the preferred method of emergency communication prior to the widespread use of the mobile phone. With the use of these little gadgets, people could communicate with one another in brief, usually consisting of a phone number to call back. Your pager beeped, alerting you to the need to quickly locate the closest phone and return the call. Doctors, emergency personnel, and anyone who needed to be reachable at all times were amongst the groups who used pagers the most. Pager's strength was in its simplicity. All that was needed to communicate urgency was a brief beep and a number message. Even their own shorthand language, which predates current texting slang, was created using a pager. Pager use progressively decreased as cell phones became more widely available and more affordable, and even though we always have a smartphone, pagers were essential to the development of mobile communication.
But today, fax, short for facsimile, is cheaper, faster, and more portable.
Fax machine. Now let's change topics and discuss the fax machine, an indispensable office appliance back in the day. Fax machines were necessary in the 80s and 90s to transfer papers fast over a great distance, and every office had that signature sound of the fax machine, the high-pitched shriek. Fax machines revolutionized communication by enabling businesses to send orders, contracts, and other crucial documents practically immediately, and it must have been a great thrill to watch your document carefully load from the recipient's computer, worrying about whether it would print clearly on the other end. Fax machines were so popular, the expression, "fax me the details," entered into the business lexicon. Fax machines began to become less useful in offices, as email and digital document exchange became more popular. Fax machines are a thing of the past for most people, but for legal or security concerns, some sectors still use them today. Fast document transfer was made possible by faxing, even though we now employ digital signature services and attach PDFs to email.
Dot matrix printers just don't fly anymore. After all,
Dot matrix printer. Dot matrix printers were renowned for their capacity to print many parts of a form at once. To create characters, they utilized a print head that went back and forth, striking a ribbon that was drenched in ink. Although it wasn't very good by today's standards, the print quality was revolutionary for the time. Businesses particularly liked these printers since they could produce continuous forms, such as reports and invoices. The perforated edges of the paper, which you'd carefully tear off, were a hallmark of dot matrix printing. However, as laser and inkjet printers became more affordable and offered superior print quality, dot matrix printers fell out of favor. Now we have high-resolution color printers at our fingertips, but there's something nostalgic about the chunky text and graphics of a dot matrix printout. Arcades. In the 1980s, these neon-lit wonderlands were the height of a kid and adolescent entertainment. The arcade sights, sounds, and scents left a long-lasting impression on the generation. They were the place to go to test your abilities and spend your allowance on everything from older favorites like Street Fighter II to classics like Pac-Man and Space Invaders. There was no greater feeling of accomplishment than seeing your initials at the top of the score list. Arcades served as social hubs where rivalries and friendships were forged, in addition to being places to play video games. However, they began to lose their allure as home gaming consoles advanced and started to provide similar experiences in the comfort of your living room. The days of local arcades on every corner are long gone. However, there are still a few vintage arcades around. Even though we now have virtual reality gaming, there was something unique about the shared experience of a busy arcade. Payphones. Speaking of making calls, let's now step into a phone booth to discuss the payphone. Originally serving as a lifeline for communication when away from the home, these were a regular sight on street corners and public areas. Before cell phones were commonplace, they were essential to everyday communication, and it was always a relief when one found a payphone in an emergency. Unfortunately, payphones began to vanish from our streets as cell phones became more popular. They're now a rare sight, more typically a novelty or a curiosity from history. Now let's rewind to a time when movie night meant a trip to the video store. MTV. When MTV launched in 1981 with the words "Ladies and Gentlemen, Rock and Roll," it revolutionized how we enjoyed music. MTV brought music videos into our homes 24/7, turning songs into visual experiences and artists into cultural icons. Who could forget the premiere of Michael Jackson's Thriller or the controversy surrounding Madonna's Like a Prayer? MTV wasn't only about music. It shaped fashion trends, influenced the youth culture, and even impacted politics with its Rock the Vote campaign. The anticipation of waiting for your favorite video to play was just part of the experience. However, as MTV began to shift towards reality television programming in the late 90s and early 2000s, and as the internet made music videos readily available on demand, its influence as a music channel waned. Now, while MTV still exists, it's a far cry from the music video powerhouse that it once was. Paper maps. Let's unfold our next topic, the paper map. Before GPS and smartphones, these were essential for any road trip or journey into unfamiliar territory. Paper maps required skill to read and interpret, making map reading a valuable skill. They also offered a broader perspective of your journey, allowing you to see your entire route at once. Family road trips would often involve bonding over map reading, with parents teaching children how to navigate. However, with the advent of GPS devices and later the smartphone navigation apps, paper maps became less necessary. While they're still in use in certain situations and appreciated by enthusiasts, for most people, digital navigation has replaced the trusty paper map. We may have lost some of the adventure of potentially getting lost, but we've gained the convenience of real-time directions and traffic updates.
Panasonic lets the sound out of the box.
Listen to the power of platinum.
Boom boxes. Large and hefty and loud and in your face, these were the exact opposite of the charming Walkman. Portable devices known as boom boxes integrated speakers, an amplifier, a cassette player, and a radio, all into one small unit. They were often carried on shoulders, despite their heavy weight, and came to represent urban culture. Stronger bass and increased street cred are correlated to larger boxes. Breakdancing and block parties had them as their soundtrack. Regardless of whether the world desired it or not, they let people share their music with the globe. But the boombox era came to an ending as personal listening devices gained traction and cities began to forbid their usage in public space. Now we have Bluetooth speakers, but they just don't have the same visual impact or nostalgic charm.
One of these jackets. I mean, look at it. Look at the shoulder pads. Look at the square body. Look at the ill-fitting arms.
Shoulder pads. These foam fashion statements were a defining feature of 1980s style, particularly in women's clothing. Shoulder pads were meant to give women a sharp, defined silhouette that rivaled the power suits worn by men in the corporate world. They were everywhere, in blazers, dresses, and even casual tops. The exaggerated shoulders created a distinctive V-shape that was seen as both powerful and feminine, and TV shows like Dynasty popularized the look, with characters sporting increasingly dramatic shoulder pads. However, as the 90s approached and fashion trends shifted towards more relaxed silhouettes, shoulder pads began to feel outdated and excessive. While they've made brief comebacks in designer collections, the ubiquitous shoulder pads of the 80s are now largely a thing of the past. Today's fashion may be more diverse, but it lacks the distinctive geometric boldness that shoulder pads brought to 1980s style. Big hair. Speaking of 1980s style, we can't forget about big hair and Aquanet hairspray. The bigger the hair, the closer to heaven. Teased, sprayed, and defying gravity, 80s hairstyles were all about volume and attitude. Aquanet hairspray was the secret weapon in achieving these towering dues. Big hair wasn't only for women. Men in metal bands sported impressively voluminous locks as well. Creating the perfect 80s hairstyle was an art form, involving backcombing, blow-drying, and liberal application of hairspray. The ozone layer may never forgive us, but the 80s hair game was unmatched. As the 90s approached, bringing with it the grunge aesthetic, big hair began to deflate. Now, while voluminous hair still has its place, the extreme styles of the 80s are mostly reserved for costume parties. We may have more manageable hairstyles now, but they certainly lack the dramatic flair of 80s big hair. Camcorders. Before camcorders, capturing movie images at home was a complex and expensive process. Camcorders changed everything, allowing families to easily record their birthdays, weddings, and everyday moments. Camcorders used VHS tapes, later transitioning to smaller formats like VHS-C and 8mm. They weren't just for family events, they played a crucial role in citizen journalism and even filmmaking. But as digital technology advanced and smartphones with high-quality video capabilities became ubiquitous, dedicated camcorders began to fade from use. While professional-grade video cameras do still exist, most of us capture our memories with the phones in our pockets. We may have gained convenience, but perhaps lost some of the intentionality that came with using a dedicated video camera. Parachute pants. Now we'll swish our way into parachute pants. These tight-fitting, often brightly colored trousers were a quintessential 80s fashion statement, made from nylon similar to parachute material, hence the name. Parachute pants often featured multiple zippers and pockets, adding to their unique look. They were the epitome of casual cool in the mid-'80s. However, like many fashion trends, parachute pants had their moment in the spotlight before fading away. By the 90s, they were largely seen as a dated relic of 80s style, and today, while baggy pants have made various comebacks, the distinct and shiny swooshy parachute pants remain firmly in the realm of 80s nostalgia. Shopping malls. Now let's take a stroll through shopping malls, once the epicenter of American consumer culture. In the 80s, malls were more than just shopping centers. They were social hubs where teens hung out, families spent their weekends, and everyone went to see and be seen. From anchor department stores to trendy boutiques, food courts to movie theaters, malls had it all under one roof. They were climate-controlled worlds unto themselves, offering an escape and a place to connect. Malls played a significant role in movies and TV shows of the era, cementing their place in pop culture, but with the rise of online shopping and changing consumer habits, many malls have struggled to survive. The COVID-19 pandemic would further accelerate this decline, and while some malls have reinvented themselves, the era of the mall as the heart of suburban social life is largely over. We may have gained convenience with online shopping, but we lost a unique social space that defined an era. If you enjoyed this blast from the past, don't forget to like and subscribe, and tell us in the comments. What things did you use in the 80s? But now you don't need them at all.